order at 5:02. And let's start with Shannon. Introduce yourself, please, and we'll work our way around the room.
Shannon Thurber. I am the confidential executive administrative assistant to Nicole.
Thank you.
David?
Oh, sorry, David Roberts, Director of Operations.
Austin Haynes, Business Manager.
Wendy Pratt, Assistant Director.
Nicole McTavish, Superintendent and Director.
Christina Macklin, Addison Northwest School District Rep.
Steve Fox in Middlebury.
Michael Giorgio, ACSD.
Dan Rosenthal, Northwest Addison at large.
Kim Farnham, the community at large member from the Mount Abraham School District and chairperson.
Steve Orzak, ACSD representative and operation.
Tricia Allen, ACSD Rep.
Joe Gronkowski, WIB member and Bridport resident.
Sharon Meacham, WIB member, Middlebury resident.
Bill Biederman, WIB member, Middlebury resident.
So next on the agenda, a motion to approve the agenda in front of you.
People online.
I'm sorry.
Did you want the people
Thank you.
online?
Liz?
Liz Fair from Mount Abraham in the first school district.
Thank you. And Linda's, I can't see. I'm sorry, Linda?
Linda? Linda, you're on mute.
Just figuring it out.
I think you're still muted, Linda.
No,
Maybe you
it's
just
just really quiet.
Oh.
Maybe she lost her voice. I
The
don't know.
little red thing still in the corner there by her name.
Muted.
You guys are all rock stars.
You're on the right. Yep. Just click pass, yep.
Not really doing
Muted for a reason, I can't talk.
I'm gonna say, she can't talk.
Sorry.
Welcome, Linda.
Hi, it's Linda Barrett, clerk.
So now I will take a motion to approve the agenda in front of you.
So moved.
That's Judd in a second.
Second.
Dan? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, Linda. Thank you. Motion to approve the December 19th meeting minutes. Any corrections from anybody? Okay, any motion to approve that?
I move that we approve the December 19, 2024 meeting minutes.
Second?
And second from Bill. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any public people that would like to speak? Any online? Shannon?
The only other attendee is the
So next, the consent agenda, and if you could kind of review just a little bit of each. I think that was helpful for people to understand.
Sure.
Financial. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds great. We'll do a quick recap of our expenditures for last month. So from the general fund for vendor payments, we had $378,675.62. We had two payrolls with a combined total of $252,207.89. For adult ed, we had, for vendor payments, $1,356, excuse me, for our enterprise revolving account. Vendor payments were $13,532.66. Student activities, total was $2,927.66. For our scholarship fund, we had a scholarship payment of $1,000. There was no activity in our building and equipment reserve fund. And for the energy project, we had two payments, two final payments of $224,300 $326.71. Other items that are noteworthy that we just received, a majority of our tuition payments from our sending schools, as well as a big slug in December from the state as far as our tuition for this year. And that put us in a very healthy cash position to pay down our line of credit, which just happened a few days ago. So we're glad to report healthy progress there, and things are looking great.
Could I ask, when you say
Yes.
healthy progress,
Oh, sorry.
does that mean we're almost caught back up with our line of credit, or?
Yeah, so the 1.3 million is paid off in full, and so we are caught up, so to
Oh,
speak.
okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Nice job.
Any questions? Okay, I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Christina, and second with Bill. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a letter that's in your packet for personnel action, resignation of Amy Dorsey. You want to talk about that at all, or
Wendy?
pretty self-explanatory?
Yes, Amy came to me right before the break to say that even though she enjoyed her time here and is still going to, give it her all until the end of June, it doesn't feel like the right fit for her. So we accept that, and I'm thanking her she's doing a wonderful job, and really her service has been wonderful for the school. So it's all a positive, interaction.
Any questions?
Can you remind me what her role was?
Career and counseling coordinator.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I think part of the biggest thing is that position in the school doesn't have the same amount of student contact as it does in K through 12 ed. So she's probably looking to spend, more time in the traditional counselor role.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Wendy, A, is that a full-time position, and B, are you guys looking to replace or rehire?
Yes, it's a mandated position, so
Okay.
we have to
Good to know.
do that. And we will be posting it very soon because we were waiting for her letter,
Okay.
basically.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I need a motion to accept that resignation.
So moved?
Judd? Second? Bill?
Yep.
All those in favor, please either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, that action carries. Okay, next, under E for action item approval of policy E20, facilities use. This is the second reading, I guess, and it could be accepted at this time?
Yes.
All right.
So since this is under an action item because this was warned, or was presented to the board last time we met for you to review, and now is the time that if you have any reason why we shouldn't adopt that policy, to please bring it up, and then we would vote on adopting it. As you recall, this was the one that we had to do some significant revisions on because the policy that was promulgated by the VSBA pretty much only applied to K-12, and we felt that it needed, that we needed more control of that, and so we revised it and said what parts of the building could be used by the public, rather than the other way around, and so it was reviewed by legal. I believe they didn't change anything, and said that we did a good job, so legally we're good on that, but if anybody came across anything that they would like to bring before the board before we vote on it, I suppose we could make a motion to approve it and then move into discussion. I move that we adopt policy E20, public use of career center facilities.
May I have a second?
Second. Good, Tricia.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Dan?
Yes, as Linda pointed out last time, the second, it is the policy, blah, 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 recognizes. We should just say the Hannaford Regional Technical School recognizes, or somehow alter that sentence. You see that? It doesn't read correctly as it stands. Or unless we want to say to recognize. It is the policy, blah, 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 to recognize that all the primary purpose of the school facilities is to educate the public.
That makes
Okay.
sense, yeah.
Can you edit, change that?
Fix
fine
it
with that?
grammatically.
It's just a grammar fix.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
right.
should be
if this is a
fine.
wording fix, that should be appropriate. I don't think it changes the policy
Right.
No.
materially, and I believe we're allowed to do that.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Seeing none other than a grammatical check provided by numerous members, thank you. I would ask for a vote of acceptance by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. The ground rules for the approval of the Shea Hannaford Career Center School Board draft ground rules. Anybody want to talk about that?
Sure. The norms and ground rules committee met and reviewed a series of different options, and this is the list that the committee came up with to bring forward to the whole board for approval. And, yeah, anybody has any questions about any of it, or any comments?
Number 4.
Yeah, the numbering, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, what happened there? I don't know.
Number on
Let's
there.
see, yes.
It's actually 3.
Um, 3, yeah, that's number 3. It somehow got messed up. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So,
So there'll be a
I
total of 12.
think there's a total of 12, but
Right.
just let me double check the document, just to make sure. I thought there were 13.
No, there were 11. We added, we took away 1, added 1.
There's 12 now.
Let's jump around.
There should be 12 altogether, so
Yeah.
yes, we're good. Yep, I just somehow got,
So where is it corrected?
so it should be make a good faith
Three should just
effort,
be all one.
receive an agenda when attending meetings, and then number 4 starts with everybody has an opportunity to contribute. So
Thank you.
it's somehow 3 and 4 meshed together.
So it's a numerical change basically, and is there anything being taken out other than a number?
No.
Okay. Any questions other than that? Steve?
I have a question about number 2.
Mhm.
All the rest of these seem to be policy guidelines for the board. 2 seems to be a guideline for the administration. It's like we don't have any control about an agenda and a timeline and all that kind of stuff. So is that in fact a charge of the board, or is that a charge of the superintendent administration?
Actually, it's a charge to the chairperson and the superintendent, because we sit together and establish it.
Okay.
So, or you would in my place, as we've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point in stating that, making that statement is that we, as a board, we want to be able to get our agenda and supporting documentation ahead of time, so we can commit to reviewing it ahead of time.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, need a motion to accept this. I believe this is our second reading.
I move to accept that with the slight change of the numbering.
In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sharon. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. So next is the approval of the FY '26 budget.
So I'm assuming everybody got the thing. I just want to point out one change from last month. If you will turn to page, I don't have the pages numbered, but it's the fourth one in, or fourth page in, proposed general fund revenue. What we realized is that we had some additional income that we did not recognize, so
Sure.
I added.
Can you hold up the page so
Yeah,
the board
which
knows
page?
what you're
Sorry.
looking at? There you go.
Okay.
It's in the small.
So it's in the little one, in the overall board packet,
Oh.
not the individual budget.
Presentation.
All right, thank you.
Everybody there?
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
third line down, last time we talked about $150,000 fund balance transfer tax abatement. I moved that to 130 because we found $20,000 more of income. So I basically added the indirect rate reimbursements, which is funds that we get from some of the grants. It's an indirect rate that's revenue to us. So we were able to reduce the fund balance transfer from 150 to 130. That's the only change, and that's a good change. Because it's better to have a less moving out of the fund.
Yeah, they basically found $20,000 more dollars. Yay.
And Kim, before the vote, I'd like to walk through this too. We didn't get it.
We're still looking at, we're still on the page 4 thing. Sorry. Okay now?
Okay.
All right.
Stress,
It's been
stress,
skiing.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to go on another trip, so
stress.
I don't know if he's packed yet.
So how did that impact the bottom line?
It does not impact, well, the
Nothing.
only, it was just a net moving in revenue.
Okay,
It did not impact the bottom line. All it means is that we can take $20,000 less out of our fund balance, which is a good thing.
okay.
So instead of taking 150, we'll take 130. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any more questions, but it's pretty much the same as what we've been chatting about.
Any questions?
I will also just clarify or point out, we don't have a final frozen FTE number. So this budget is based on 136.55 FTEs, which is our 6-month trailing weighted average of FTEs. At some point, the Agency of Education is going to freeze that in place, and whatever that frozen number is what we use, and it's usually a little off, a little different. But materially, this is good to go. This is all we have. So
Any timeline, guesstimate when that might freeze?
it was supposed to be January 6th.
Could actually be tomorrow,
Yeah.
Yes, okay,
So any day now.
on a Friday. Exactly.
Friday at 5.
Friday at 5 o'clock.
And is that a number that they've preliminarily given you, or are you guys calculating this based on what we know as an institution? Which is
We
what
have
the other school
preliminary
districts
data
are doing.
based on the figures that we report out every semester. The final confirmation needs to come directly from the AOE, and that's what we're waiting for. And there's usually a shakeout, as David mentioned. It's not drastically off, but sometimes there are rounding adjustments here and there.
It's not going to impact the total budget amount, the 5.704 or 5.7, whatever it is. What it could impact is the tuition rate. So if it goes down a little bit, our tuition rate will go up. But it's it's got to really move our tuition rate a lot. So
Okay.
it's not going to be a big deal.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but an observation. Thank you again, David and Austin, for doing this awesome job. I know that the number that got put out there was 10%, and it come in at 8%. as a sending district, board member, this is great news. And this is really helpful to us. So thank you again for doing this.
It's gonna be a tight year next year. We were just chatting, earlier, and, this is a tight budget.
Yes.
And so we're all gonna have to buckle up a bit for next year.
And I do appreciate that in ACSD, we are cutting 9 FTEs. So that's, I hear what you're saying, but I'm glad you heard what I said too.
Yep.
If we're cutting FTEs,
As in
that's a pretty tight
faculty,
place.
faculty positions that are being eliminated, or?
Yeah, that's the net number of positions that we're gonna lose
Yep.
next year, if the budget is approved. So,
Yeah, they're not all teachers, but.
right, but still, FTEs are FTEs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the taxpayers are gonna find out about this? They're gonna hear about this when they vote?
So it was
Yeah, I
in
mean,
Monday's,
They need to understand more.
it was in Monday's meeting, so you're talking about the ACSC budget, it was in Monday's meeting, and actually immediately following this at 6:30, there's a public question and answer about the
Yes.
ACSC budget via Zoom, so, yes.
Okay. Yes, very good, thank you.
Nicole, it might not be appropriate now, but I wouldn't mind talking about the dates and the process, the timeline.
We're going to,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Any more questions about this? So Nicole will be doing some presentations at each of the sending schools. The dates, I believe, are listed, yes, they are at the bottom of the agenda. Really appreciate you attending the meeting that applies to you or any others that you feel can put in your calendar. In the event any questions come up, doesn't usually happen, but I think it shows a presence of our commitment to the budget, and I think that's another important piece we'd like to show. And if there's any questions about the curriculum or whatever, Nicole wants to go over your presentation.
Right, I'm just gonna walk you through it, I'm not gonna get up there and do the whole thing, but because you will see this live at your own board meetings, I wanted you to, it's always nice for you to have a heads up so that you can be in the know when I come to your board meeting. So, I generally start with a little bit about the Career Center, just because I don't know who knows what on the sitting school boards. So it's kind of nice to review what we do and why we do it and who we serve. So I spent a little bit of time going through all of that. And then reminding people, the mission of the Career Technical Centers is high skill, high wage, high demand jobs that align with the economic needs of the county they serve and the state of Vermont. Then we talk about what programs we actually have. So there's a slide about the pre-tech programs, which are our 9th and 10th grade programs. And there's a slide about our technical programs, which are our generally 11th and 12th grade programs, although 10th graders can take them. And on this one, you will notice that there's a new program in apparel and interior design. It's actually not new because it's Design and Illustration 2, but we have Design and Illustration 1, this is Design and Illustration 2, but we're changing the name, right? So, then I talk a little bit about our outcomes. Our outcomes at this center in particular, 99% of our students graduate, and that is with 34% of our students being on IEPs or 504s. So our teachers do an amazing job, our staff does an amazing job working with kids and getting them, having them be successful. Then the next one, with the girl with the clamp in her hand, every one of our classes offers Tier 2 industry certification, so 100% of our classes do. And as you know, a Tier 2 industry certification is when the students take the industry test and get a certificate because they passed it. So if you're in auto, you take the actual industry test for auto. If you're in manufacturing, you take the actual industry test for the CNC machines and the drones and all that sort of thing. And then right now, 50% of our classes offer college credit. That's up from 30-something% last year, so we're really proud of that. We'll continue to work on this as we move forward. And then we have almost a third of our students are taking work-based learning, which is when they go out into the community and they actually do the job that they're learning about. And that's really exciting. The next slide is just, it helps the boards, the sending school boards, kind of get a perspective of
what percentage of their students are actually taking advantage of the Career Center. And you can see the total enrollment for each of the school districts, 912, total 912 enrollment for each of the school districts, and then what percentage of those students are taking a class through the Career Center. You will note that Virgin's is high, and that is because of our satellite program, right? We have Bill and Carl in Virgin's High School, even though there are employees teaching pre-technical classes there, so that's working. Then we talk a little bit about specifically our serving students with disabilities, students on individual education plans, or students on 504, Section 504 plans. And the outcomes are greater for those students when they are aligned with CTE programs. It really helps. And that we take more, serve more, and are successful with more students on IEPs and 504 plans. Our arms are open here. When you have a 1.7% unemployment rate in the state, every student needs to go get a career in the state of Vermont. So we work really hard to have everybody have the skill set to do that. The next slide is, so the McClure Foundation, which you may be familiar with, does a big labor report every year, and we really love it because they do such an amazing job. And we just get to receive it. We don't have to do the labor statistics. They do it for us. So each year they tell us what the jobs with the most openings in the state of Vermont are. And you can see the top 6 here, and we have a program for every single one of these. So the student, we are aligned with the needs of our community.
Nicole,
Yes.
could you quickly talk about the different levels of IEPs and how we meet that as educators?
So individual education plan means that a student has a disability and that they have to have specially designed instruction to be able to access the general ed curriculum. That if they didn't have specially designed instruction, they couldn't access the curriculum at their grade level in their school. So what the IEP does is it tells the educators what to do, so to either accommodate things or to modify things. So an accommodation might be that a student has more time or works in a quiet space or takes a test orally or things like that, where you're not changing the content, but you're changing the way, the context, essentially. Modification is where you actually change the content, so that the student, like if it was a math class, they might only have to do the odd problems or the even problems. Or if it was an English class, you might give them a book that's the same kind of idea, but a different Lexile score, so the words are not as complicated. So that the student still can access the learning that's going on, but that the text they have in front of them is at their Lexile score. So we work really hard with our sending schools to make sure that we're doing the things that the students need in order to access the curriculum that we have here. Is that what you're, okay?
Yes, thank you. I think for the public too, they don't, when they hear IEP, it's like, oh,
Right.
And because there's so many different levels of an IEP, I think it's important that we talk about that a little bit, especially since we're being filmed.
Yeah.
So I think it helps. Thank you.
And then we also, I really like to show the sending school districts that we're not just asking the public for money. We work really hard to support our budget ourselves so that we can ask for as little public money as possible. And over the last 18 months, pretty much, we have earned over $1 million in grant monies, largely due to David and his incredible efforts at writing and receiving grants. So this is just a listing of the ones that we currently have going. And as you know, the 100K and the 550K grants are over a number of years, but those are still going to be in effect during this fiscal year 26 budget. So we're working hard to ease the tax burden. I also like to talk to the sending boards about the adult education program we have here. That's a little less known in the community, that especially the medical programs that we have here in partnership with Porter, which are very important. In fact, I just recently was in the hospital and my nurse was both my nurse who took programs here and her daughter is in programs here. So that was really fun.
So can quote you and say your hospital visit was fun?
No, the hospital visit was definitely not fun, but it was very fun talking to Lana's mom. Yeah. Okay, and then the other piece that I'm bringing forward is there's a huge paradigm shift happening in education in the United States in general. CTE is having a moment, right? I think as the pandemic impacted students, K-12 and higher ed, there's been a sort of a rethinking of the value of what kind of education and how much things cost and what your, profit and loss is over your career, and just people being very interested. The trades are having a moment. And especially in higher education, their enrollment is going crazy with students wanting to going to advanced technical training. And we're also seeing that across the state of Vermont. We're having enrollment gains across our CTE programs. So the next page is just some of the headlines that have come out over this year, showing that CTE and the trades are having a moment with, they're calling this generation the tool belt generation. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Could I ask?
Yes.
There has been some writings recently about colleges pushing back about accepting IB credit and AP credit, and you said that our students have access to college credit courses.
Correct.
Have we seen any of that? Like colleges saying, yeah, you got college credit, but we'll only count it as a general education requirement.
I haven't.
No, and the nice thing is that we have partnerships with the colleges.
Okay.
So we're pre-approved for those colleges to accept the credits. It's dual enrollment through the college.
Great.
Right, and it's sort of an added value to the colleges as well as the student, right? The student is getting these credits without any cost to themselves or their families, and the colleges are betting on that. If they have college credits already through their college, they'll go to their college, right? So it's a strengthening Vermont in the whole, Then the next page just talks about our local grads and places where they're either the CEO, like running or owning the business, or high in the echelon of leadership there. And then we get into the actual budget detail. And then at this point in the presentation, I'm going to turn it over to David, and David's going to walk them through the actual budget detail. So similar to last year, we compare last year's budget to this year's budget. David will talk about the fact that 70% of our budget, 70%
70% is salaries and wages, and another 15% is debt service. So 85% of our budget is salaries, benefits, and debt service.
Then we are going, because this is the sending schools, right? So they are grappling with this unexplained base rate decrease, which is incredibly frustrating to all of us. For 10 years, the base rate, which is essentially the lump sum fund per kid that each district gets from the state, for 10 years has gone up. And inexplicably, this year it's gone down. And we can't get there, we do not have clarity on why that would be the case, especially given all of the other academic indicators we're all living with. So this is making it feel to the sending districts as if 8% is 11%, right?
Basically, the share of the tuition is, the proportion of the share of the tuition is shifting towards the schools and away from the state. So in history, schools paid 60%, state paid 40%. Now we're at 68-32. And so that's an unfair burden, if you will, towards the schools and away from the state, which seems counterintuitive,
Right.
if you will.
And then David will talk about the preliminary tuition forecast, which we've just been through with the other packet that he had, and the increase to the tuition. So our budget is increasing right around that 8% number, which translates into a tuition increase of 9.34%. And essentially, and this is what, this number will not be a surprise and might be even a little bit of a nice thing to the superintendents, because I've been talking about 10% pretty much all year. When your labor costs go up 9% and your insurance rates go up 12%, it's gonna be about 10%. So that's not a huge shocker. And then, so the budget from 25 to 26 is an increase of $424,483, which is an 8.04% increase. Then David came up with this great strategy. Really excited about this. So we went through and looked at the proposed budgets of every school district in Addison County. So us, Lincoln, Addison Northwest, Addison Central, and Mount Abe. and put all that together, and that whole budget of all public schools in Addison County equals $123 million. Ours is just 4.45% of that pie. And so our increase equals less than 1% of the total of Addison County. So even though we're small and mighty, we're a great bargain. And so I'll walk, and then I'll obviously ask the sending school districts for questions, and oftentimes they have really great questions, and it's fun to answer them. The other thing which is in your packet, which I was gonna do during my superintendent report, but it's a nice segue right here, is just, this might be educational. So in your packet is this document. On the top left where it says total pre-K enrollment, that's supposed to say total K through 12 enrollment. So please make that change. There aren't that many pre-K kids.
Is that in the small packet?
It's in your board packet.
Oh, in the board.
Yeah, it's a loose paper in your board packet. It's purple. Do you need a board packet?
Okay. Is it online too, or no?
Yes.
It's in your
Oh,
report?
no, it's not online.
Oh, okay.
Your board packet is under that other packet.
Those are policies.
There you go. So what's kind of neat about this is, I was doing this for a different purpose, but it's informative and might be something to have in your back pocket as board members working with CTE. So you can see the total, where it says, again, where it says pre-K, it's supposed to say K-12. So the total K-12 enrollment, which is head count, not FTE, right? Because for us, for example, a student only goes here half a day, so they're half an FTE, 0.5 FTE. But they're still a child, so they're a head count. So education works in those two different things, right? Head count, which is individual live beings, as opposed to FTE, which is 6 hours of school. So Mount Abe has, for 24-25, has a 1150, Addison Northwest has 829, and ACSD has 1598, that's K-12. We took out preschool, we're not counting preschool because that's, funding is different. And then the same thing for just 912. So Mount Abe has 404, Addison Northwest has 257, ACSD has 530 of live children. And we have 372 live children that are going to our school right now. So we are bigger than I think people realize, which is why I was kind of doing this exercise. We serve more children than people anticipate, I think. The other piece, just to kind of put us in context, even though you see the 372, right, so we serve more live children, for example, than Virginia's High School, and right in, kind of in line with Mount Abe High School, but not the same FTE, right? Those schools are having kids go there full time. But our budget is $5.7 million, right, which is pretty low compared to other districts. And of course, other districts have many more things that they have to do and serve, and lunch and transportation and special ed and all that. But just trying to put things in context. And then our FTE, which is what we get paid from AOE. And you will see, we keep track and they keep track, and it's very rarely exactly aligned, but it's usually pretty close. Last year it wasn't, and we had big fights, and you lose, AOE always wins. But this year we're pretty close so far.
Questions?
Yes. So that's what I'll be doing when I come to your district.
Great work, Nicole.
Dan?
You mentioned the increase in salaries and healthcare, but it's not in here. It'll be there, they will see. You know, that's definitely part of the increase.
Yeah, we talked about
Everybody
it.
understands that, I think.
Yeah, it's in here. We made a slide with an arrow.
22, slide 22.
Yeah,
The one that's
Okay.
yeah.
the all blue pie.
Oh, yeah,
After-
okay,
after
the
the
pie,
blue
but
pie.
I'm thinking that your 8.04% increase page, you know, I agree with you, it's less than the 10% we predicted based on A and B.
Right.
And I thought that was a great statement.
Yeah, thank you. We worked really hard at
Yeah.
shaving every dollar and every line that we possibly could. And this will mean that we're not buying equipment with operating budget, so we just can't. So anything that we need to do will need to either be leased, or it will need to be funded through grants or something else for this next school year, until we have a clear picture of what the future is going to be of education in Vermont. I don't think anybody has a clear picture right now.
Thank you all very much for
Yeah.
putting this
Great
together.
Tremendous.
It's a huge amount of work.
Nicole, are you gonna be presenting this information?
No, this is just for
Just
your,
for us,
just
okay.
for the board to have in your back pocket, just, I think it helps set the context.
Great.
I did verify all of the enrollment numbers with the superintendents though,
Yep.
just making sure I wasn't putting anything out there that wasn't accurate. And they were grateful because, again, what shows up on reports isn't exactly what they have, and we know what we have because we count them every day.
So are
Any
you
other
looking,
questions?
oh, sorry, looking for a motion to,
If there are no more questions, yes. So we need a motion to approve the FY '26 budget. Bill, second?
Yeah.
Dan? Any other questions? Seeing none, please either raise your hand or say aye in regards to accepting that particular motion. As-
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Anybody opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All parties.
Godspeed.
So we have a donation to Diesel Tech.
David, do you want to say something about the donation?
Sure. I don't know much other than someone reached out to Dave Mills to say they wanted to donate a diesel engine, which those things are precious, and they get to take them apart, put them back together. So it's a great learning tool. It's from Peterbilt of Vermont, which is the company that's donating it, and we estimated the value at $5,000.
wow, nice.
We're very happy.
Very cool.
Okay, we need a motion to accept that? Bill?
Make a motion that we accept it.
Thank you.
Second?
And second from Judd. All those in favor of accepting this donation, to the diesel technology program? I don't know if we need to be really specific about what it is, but thank you for your description. Please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you to Peterbilt.
Yes. Now, when that happens, letter, something is sent to them, or?
You read my mind.
Thank
I
you.
think we need to, let's make sure, because I was just thinking about the car that we got, I'm not sure we did that, so we'll
Yeah.
take that away to make sure we do
Right,
that.
and whether or not they need it for a tax write-off. You know, should be handy, I'm sure.
Do we also send those,
Superintendent's report.
do we also send that to the Addison Independent as well?
Why?
No?
It seems like a good thing. Get their name out there and get our name out there, thanking them. I mean, the number of community-based support things we get is really, it seems pretty profound, so.
I'm gonna say, I think it's a good idea, but you need permission from them to do that. Some people like to be anonymous,
Okay.
some people wanna keep it in-house. They probably get solicited for a lot of things, and, you know, just a clarification of letting people, can we talk about it or not? You know, I think that happens with fundraising, for instance, with the hospital, same thing. You need to kind of get their permission.
So, the Addison Independent may not want to be covering that as an article,
Right.
but we could put it in as a revenue.
Yeah, that's,
if
I
we
was
wanna
thinking
do
about
that.
how would we do that, and let's think about it. We are about to do a warning for the paper, for that, so we'll think about that, but I hear you. I think it's a great thing, so we can have conversations with them, find out if that's something they want to be recognized with.
I'm sure there's others too. They kind of do volunteer their time, or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll call out Faith Dahlia right now.
Yeah,
She is a
exactly.
superstar volunteer.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
she does amazing work for the Career Center on a basically daily basis.
Any other questions? Superintendent's report.
So many of you have asked for each other's phone numbers and addresses. So our wonderful Shannon made a laminated copy, so you can't lose it. There you go. And if anything changes, please let us know and we'll do new ones.
Thank you.
Important dates in your packet is a list of all the dates associated with the budget and the warnings and the meetings. And this is important for you to have so that you know what's happening. It looks like this. It took us a little while to find all of this because everything is a rule, and then you have to, this has to happen in 10 days, and then that has to happen before 20 days, and then, whoa. So, but this is the schedule to lead us up to the actual town vote on March 4th. And then just noting that at the bottom of the, I think Kim noted that at the bottom of the agenda are the roadshow dates. So if anybody would like to attend with us, that would be wonderful. We love the sport.
Any questions from the call? And business managers report, if you have anything else you want to add to what you probably already talked about.
I guess aside from budget and normal business this time of year, we are kicking things off with our auditors in a couple weeks. So that's a big lift and another big project that we're starting. We mentioned it in the last meeting. So they'll be on site towards the end of January for a couple days. So we're looking forward to meeting with them and just getting our financials back in shape.
Mhm.
Is this process behind schedule? Right, and just by how, I'm
Yeah,
just
I mean,
curious, how far behind are
historically,
we?
we typically at least have a draft going.
Right.
And given the turnover and transition, things
Yeah.
have been delayed.
Okay,
I would say we're not unique, like there are other
Right.
schools that don't get their final audit until the spring. So
Right.
there is a grace period, but and we have been in communication with them and sending them materials, so a lot of prep work has been done already.
great,
That's more just going through the formal process.
yeah.
So,
Well, considering where you guys have been, I think it's a big accomplishment that
Yes, thank
you are
you.
where you are, so.
yeah.
Austin actually took a day off.
At
Exactly.
David's instruction, I had Friday. Insistent.
And not just when you were sick?
I'm just joking.
The sick day was a bonus.
On another note, Austin has sent out a notice regarding signing up for Thursday.
Yes.
Go check out. And thank you, Bill. You've signed up for a number of days, and this year, last year, and Judd.
Yeah.
Please take a look at that. It's not a big commitment. I oversee it if there's a last minute need to come in, but at the same time, you know, summer, totally get it. If you're around, it's really a good time, and others take a lot of vacations. So I get it, but please take a look at it and plug your name in.
Currently filled in through March something?
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so April is the next
Thank you,
available.
Yeah.
It gives you a good idea where the money's going.
And I can provide cookies if it.
And candy.
I never had a cookie.
Oh,
Damn.
lots of candy.
Is it back to the original schedule of needing to have it signed by a certain time?
Every 2 weeks, is that your question, or the?
No,
Right,
what
but it
time
was
in the
like
morning?
First thing in the morning kind of thing, or can
Oh.
it happen before a board meeting, or?
Yeah, for the time being, we're trying to stick to the Thursday afternoon schedule.
Thursday
And then if
afternoon.
we need spillover
Okay.
for Friday morning.
Okay,
Our
Very good.
treasurer, Jane, is very flexible, and she's David's neighbor, so she's a
Oh,
great
perfect.
partner in crime.
okay.
It does seem like we lost the sync between the board meetings though and those Thursdays.
We did, because
So
because of the payroll cadence, there are 3
Yeah.
in January, so that shifts
Okay,
things off.
so
Okay.
I got in on a few of those, so, but,
So look at that.
So I had one other
No.
thing. I just wanted to thank everybody who was involved in putting together the breakfast this morning, which was wonderful. And there's another one tomorrow morning for any board members who may not be committed yet, who might want to go.
Yeah, it's really just a nice way to recognize our students in a really positive light. And some of these students, I've heard from them and mostly their families that it's the first time that they've ever been recognized before. So it really is special. And the instructors are just fantastic. You know, they just say such nice things about them. And
Yeah, the instructors are
Anyone's
really
welcome.
funny.
What time is that?
Steve?
7:45 to 8:30.
And
It says 18:45.
18:45?
No, 8 to 8:45.
Oh, On what?
Yeah, where did you see that?
I don't know, when I called, I was looking at it and it said 1849.
The invitation itself that got sent out Monday said.
Yeah, it's 7:45 to 8:30, I think is.
7:45, okay, cool, that's better.
Steve?
So-
Why am I calling? Sorry, Kim.
Some people know me as the ogre that sits in the board meetings and says, we don't want to see student presentations and we got board business. I go to these every time. And this is when you see, the kids shine, the instructors shine. So I would encourage anybody to go because it is real, like everybody said, well, that's what makes it worth it. But I know not everybody can go in the morning, but if you can make it, it is definitely worth it.
And the breakfasts are good.
Yes, they
Done by the glass onion.
Extrinsic reward.
So we're under public comment evidently. We moved along in the agenda. That's okay. Anyway, I'm gonna add my public comment. I had we meet once a month for the Vermont Healthcare Commission in regards to the teachers' healthcare budget piece. And we've had one meeting with the NEA that basically was to set an agenda. This meeting was with VSBA and our attorney, and we actually had a first grievance from the Mount Mansfield district regarding the way that the percentages were set up and so on during the final agreement. Well, they've come back this week and their business manager miscalculated. And it was a part-time person and basically that had dropped from a full-time position. So we're cleared on that, but we realize too we have to look at the language regarding grievances and make sure there's a little more clarity. So Joe, will get back to us regarding that. The VSBA has finally realized they needed to hire a lobbyist. So that's happening, which is, finally. So anyway, and one of the pieces regarding that, and please continue to look at your legislative updates, because they're going to present a group of things, including healthcare, and what the recommendations from our group will hopefully be. Every contract that we've gone through has gone through arbitration. The board is very even when it comes to voting. So that is always going to end up that way. So we've asked possibly a change in the membership of the board in regards to adding people that maybe just have a neutrality interest. We don't know if the legislature will take a look at that. We also asked VHI or the legislature to have VI hire an independent supervisor for all of these issues regarding the healthcare. As right now, VHI just has control over all of that, and it's not a bad thing, but we need somebody independent to take a look at some of the needs of the union and the state. Obviously, where is healthcare going in the next 5 years? I think that's a conversation that we're going to try and bring up with the legislature and make sure that that hopefully gets addressed. And I don't think anybody's really gone down the road, and they kind of need to. The other piece is they currently have 4 plans the teachers do right now, and there's a conversation about possibly bringing it down to 2. One of the plans, about 60% of that group don't pay anything. So there's some things that could be adjusted that way, and again, it has to be approved on recommendations from the legislature being brought to us. Our role is, questionable at this point, especially with the last 2 rounds of negotiations and going to arbitration. It's a very frustrating piece to be able to see that happening and knowing forthwith it may happen again. Hopefully, some of the recommendations that we're going to meet with, again, the end of January with the NEA, they have a pretty extensive agenda, but only an hour to meet in, so we'll see what happens. But and get some clarity on what they would like to present. They know they're in a position right now, I think, where they understand there has to be some sort of commitment by somebody, and collectively with the whole school budget process. And obviously, healthcare is a very, very big piece of it. And we were told that VHI spent, hours getting it down to 12%, but at the same time, it's still too high, and for people the public to afford, to have to pay their fair share. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Obviously, nothing has changed. We're still holding the same budget that we had before with this group, same contract rather, so that hasn't changed, but hopefully in April, we'll start to make some movement in trying to get together. At this point, they haven't really wanted to talk to us too much, because things would have to change, and they don't want to talk about it yet. Bill?
So Kim, at a point in time where costs seem to be pretty critical, why is the NEA only giving an hour to handle a fairly extensive agenda?
Again, they have not wanted to talk with us, and they don't feel that, there's just too many ifs right now between the legislature not being in session. Their lobbyists need to get their work done too.
Didn't the
And-
legislature just start this week? Aren't they
Yes.
back in session?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
week, that's
Yeah.
it. So all summer and the rest of the year, that didn't happen. And we would, ask for meetings along that time, and, they're on vacation. So that just doesn't happen. And that's the way it is. But at the same time, there needs to be some changes about how the legislature looks at healthcare in general and what they want to do about it. We're not getting a lot of direction from them. It's kind of, you guys handle it, you take care of it. Well, it goes to arbitration. Well, is that solving the problem? No. It's a buffer so that they don't have to deal with it. Well, they need to. And the entity as it is, we're frustrated because we can't make any changes. We don't have that type of voting power at all in our group. And I think with the addition of the lobbyists, it will be helpful, because there needs to be a pulse in the State House to talk to legislators about the severity of the need to be able to address the subjects, and hopefully that's going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
I will let you know when I know more.
Thank you.
Right now, it is what it is, and it's all about the cost and who's going to pay the dime. And right now, the taxpayers are. And I believe, and I can't quote the NEA because I'm not in that group, but, they're not in a position where they really want to come to the table right now, because they know things could change drastically. But we don't have the power to do that right now in our group.
Kim, when does the current agreement expire? When does it run through?
Looking at April, I believe. I think that date's still a little bit up in the air to be able to come back to the table. But as is, it's like, we first initially said, well, no, we don't want to do it, and we were both in agreement to that because there was so much turmoil and everything going on with the legislature at the time, and nobody addressing healthcare at all for the longest time. So hopefully there'll be some impact. And there's been things put out there. For instance, I mentioned earlier about VHI using Blue Cross Blue Shield for the last 25 years. And I asked the question again, has anybody responded to that? Nope, nobody's responded to it. So that may be a legislative piece that says, hey, you guys got to go out and take a look and see what else is out there. But those types of directives, again, from the legislative piece has to happen.
And no formal bidding during that 25-year process? Or?
Nope, they've never gone out. And I was appalled personally. I was like, what? People do that at your house. Why aren't you doing it? And they were like, well, and now their excuse was that they, quote, didn't have enough personnel to be able to go do that. So anyway, there was some not very well thought out responses. But anyway, and I asked the question again and nobody's come back. So VHI is just sitting there. But if they get an edict from the legislature to have to, take a look at some of these things, whether or not they'll consolidate with, you've got the State Employees Union, you've got some other unions out there that, there may be a consolidation, who knows? I don't know if the teachers would agree to that, but, that's another piece.
In contrast to that, the recommendations from that Education Review Board that Nicole sent out, one of their recommendations was to turn healthcare back to the districts. I mean, if there's anything we can come out against, that might be one of them, the power of negotiation.
Again, it was a legislative edict, so I don't know how quickly that would turn around. But in contrast, and he's brought up the meeting, when that group was here and they met, I know Steve came, I came, a couple others had the time to come and talk about it. I sent a message to Zoe Saunders, and it was very clear there was no representation from CTE group, and there was no representation from homeschool group. And I reiterated that again with the meeting the other day, and they were like, you know, VSBA kind of looked at me and said, what? And I said, yeah. And I said, and then to ask this group whether or not they'd read the report. And Nicole shared it with me, and basically it's a list of kind of, these are some things we might need to do. There were no resolutions. They used it as a time limit that they hadn't had a lot of time to do anything with those things. So, you know, those are things that are kind of up in the air. And that's where VSBA said, we need a lobbyist. We need somebody to get in there and talk to the legislators a little bit and start to educate them about what is, you know, education funding. What's it look like? Where's it coming from? Because a lot of them don't. I don't think they know. And that's pretty clear too. When I get more answers, I'll let you know. But right now, no.
I just have an announcement, but it's changing the subject, so
Sure.
are we?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for
Because we won't have another meeting, I think, until February 20th, is that right? February 6th is our open house showcase, the big one that we do in February. So you'll all get a special invitation, but if you want to add it to your calendar right
Yeah,
now, that would
thank
be
you.
great.
That's great.
4:30 to 6:30.
And with Kim's permission, while we're on that subject, I do want to point out that the February 20th, the board had an interest in not having a separate meeting for the annual meeting. We were able to accommodate that.
Okay.
But that means that we have to start at 4 to do, because there are actually 3 meetings at that. So you have it's in a special order, the annual meeting, and then we have to pause and have an informational meeting, and then we adjourn, and then we re-adjourn to have the regular meeting. So you'll have 3 meetings in one day, but that causes you to not have to come back the following week.
Okay.
But you do have to come early. And this is a really important meeting for all the board members to be at. You can do it online, but it's better to do this particular one in person if you can, because we sometimes have public. And Jim Douglas is gonna moderate for us again. So that'll be
He's
fun.
agreed to moderate. Judd?
Just basically for Sharon and Kim, after the holidays and everybody being sick and this and that, I'm finally getting around to rescheduling our first negotiations meeting. So that's why there's nothing on the agenda for that, is because we're still trying to have our first meeting.
And time for that for Sharon, especially 4-ish, is that what you're looking at, or?
So the only,
Be flexible.
okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, the only
to
one,
be
when we
sure.
first attempted to do it back in the 2024, we were talking about sort of right after that way the staff that we're working with can finish their workday and then go right into negotiations, and then everybody can go home.
Did they have 3 people?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Alyssa, Julie, and Alan. Nope.
No.
Eric.
Eric, thank you. Okay, good.
Yep.
Wendy, what time was the open house again?
4:30 to 6:30.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are you doing something with the paper?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because it becomes quite popular. The
Yep.
food does.
We're gonna have a
especially.
bunch of ads coming up,
Okay,
because
cool.
we've got our open positions, we're gonna do our awards breakfast so that all those outstanding students get their picture in, and then we'll advertise the showcase.
I like the lobby, by the way.
Yeah, isn't that great?
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it on your way out, who was recognized and who will be recognized tomorrow morning?
Yep.
There are pictures and a little description, which is kind of nice for everybody to come in and see that. Anything else anybody wants to talk about or has a question about? Any dates or anything? Maybe we'll do this in the future. We haven't done this for a while, but we used to have before we left the meeting, and how did we do, and that kind of conversation.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Judd always did it, so I'll just basically get everybody warmed up, and the next time Nicole and I do the agenda, we'll slap it in there to make sure. But anyway, thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Happy
thank
New Year. I did mention that. I apologize.
Happy New Year.
Cheers.
And please send our regards to Chef Jillian.
Yeah,
about
thanks for the food.
great food. Yeah,
Thank you.
much appreciated.
Did we move to adjourn?
Not yet.
Sure.
Anything else to add? Everybody's brain picking up anything? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
So, oh, I think it's over there.
Ian?
Second.
Linda, do we need a second?
Yeah.
No, it's already gone.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And on that note, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.